Check, check. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Casey Phillips, and I am the curator of the Walls Project. I'm an arts activist and a proud father right here in Baton Rouge. And I came here today to share my approach with you on how to transform the landscape and make it a more creative place in your own hometown. But before we get started, I need your help. I need our video to start, but I also need your help. So everyone who's from the city of Baton Rouge, it's been a long day. Please stand up. Put your phones down, put your purses down. If you're from Baton Rouge, please stand up. All right, make some noise. All right. So if you're from nope, keep standing. Okay. So if you're from Baton Rouge and you have left and lived somewhere else and you came back, please keep standing up, and everybody else, you can sit down. Make some noise. Y'all are officially called the transplants into our fine city. Okay, you can take a seat. And last but not least, the true heroes in our city. Who are the people here that moved from out of state to the city of Baton Rouge to make this your home? Please stand up. Everyone give them a round of applause. These are what we like to call the transplants. And particularly, this is the third component to the magic equation. Thank y'all, by the way. As I said, we have now all partaken in a demonstration together, and you're all officially activists. So as I said, give yourself another round. So the TED mantra is ideas worth spreading. But this brings up a very poignant question. Who are the people that you're spreading your ideas to? Because in order to spread an idea and make it into a reality, you have to be able to know the people who you're speaking to. You have to know the framework of experience that you are speaking to them in order to make your idea into a reality and enact change. So let's start with the first group, the largest group, the locals. Y'all are the largest segment in almost every American city. You love your city, you value the core values here, and there's a very good possibility that your family roots are here. Now, you understand that there's some problems in your city, and you accept those, because that's what locals do. They make the best of the situation, they gravitate to the good, and you block out the bad. Now, outside of that, your greatest value that you have in the hometown evolution is that you have the best knowledge of the economic, the political, and the social landscape in your city. This is invaluable. And in the case of Baton Rouge, you also know where everybody went to high school, and you know where everyone goes to church, because that's what we do here. But with the problems, many of these challenges are the same ones that we grew up with. The failing schools, the inner city crime, the inequality for women and people of color inside of our city. But we just say, well, that's just the way it always has been, and that's the way it's always going to be. But hold on. Maybe there is an answer. There's another group that can help answer that. But we'll get to that. So nearly 20 years ago, I took what people from here like to say an extended creative sabbatical. I celebrated my 20s, free as a bird, high in the mountains of Colorado, my friends, and stumbling all through the music-soaked streets of New Orleans. I had a blast. But like many boomerangs, I swore to never come back to this place, ever. And all my family and friends, you know what they said. It's just what all the locals from the Group 1 say. Never say never, and you'll be back. And the crazy thing is that 88% of the time, they're right. Because that is the percentage of people who reside in Louisiana that were born here or raised here and will live out the rest of their years here. Now, the advantage of this consistent population is that it helps keep our rich culture and heritage in place. People fly from all around the world to come here and experience what we got. It's real, and people love it, and that's awesome. But the other side of this is it creates an incestuous environment where many of the same approaches to the same problems are taken and they fail, and the cycle just continues. This is where the boomerangs, my group, I think brings the most value to the table. Because we understand the hometown ethos, but at the same time, we want to see it move forward. Group 2 has lived all over the country, and in some cases, all over the world. We have been fully immersed in other cultures, in other city systems, and we have seen new answers to the same problems that plague our city. We have seen the forest for the trees, and when we come back, we are highly motivated to be change agents because we are very frustrated by the pace of change in our hometowns. And we all do come back for our own reasons. And almost like a child's boomerang, you kind of hit that apex moment where all of a sudden you realize you're like, wow, there is nothing standing between where I am and my hometown. There's no reason. And the only thing standing in the way is air and an inevitable crash landing. And so you come back. I remember my apex moment. I was running in Santa Monica, down the PCH, training for a marathon, laid out on the beach, watching the sun set over the Pacific Ocean, total bliss, picturesque moment. I was so proud of myself that I had made it in LA. Because after Katrina, which I felt had kicked the legendary shit out of me, I had stayed in Los Angeles in one of the most competitive markets that there were, and I survived. But what I realized was it wasn't pride that I was feeling as the emotion. And when I started to tear up, it was actually shame. Because I realized that I'd been running my entire life away from my biggest fear of being born, living, and dying in the same place and not progressing. And I ran to the farthest point in the United States, to Los Angeles, to have to learn that lesson. So I came back. And when I came back, I knew that there was going to be some challenges. And I knew I would have to pay my dues in business in order to break back into a new market again. But I'll be damned if I was going to kiss the ring of the elite that controlled the strings here. I decided to take another route. I volunteered. I volunteered and donated my marketing services for every arts organization I could find. And I made friends. Because I knew what we had to do down the road for change, and I knew I was going to need alliances to do so. So Thomas Wolfe once wrote, "You can't go home again." And I guess this man knew something that I did not, because I did anyway. But what I didn't do is abandon what I established when I was young. I wanted to do 3 things when I grew up. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to be my own boss to make a lot of money. I wanted to change the world, and I wanted to do something that I loved and I was passionate about. And as a son of an entrepreneur, I started doing that when I was 22. Out of all these years, I said I have had many, many successes, and I have had just as many monumental failures. And I think the book The Alchemist puts it best. The key to a successful life is to fall down 7 times and get up 8 times. That's what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And after the 15 years of music, I knew that I had to come back to this market, and that wasn't really here. So, and with all the moving parts inside the entrepreneurial cycle, when you run your own business, the one thing that you can never get away from is that you have to make money. At the end of the day, the overall collective good has to get sacrificed in order for the bottom line, because that's your responsibility as an entrepreneur. And I just simply didn't feel fulfilled anymore. So I racked my brain. I was my own boss. I did what I loved, but something was missing. And ironically enough, when I moved back to Baton Rouge, it was here. It was my community, and specifically this community that I grew up in. I'll be honest, y'all, I'm so nervous. I love y'all, and I love all my friends in this, place. All right. So when I came back, I was like, what am I gonna do? I was like, so I just volunteered, And what I did was I followed my own advice that I'm going to give to you now. Do what you know and do what you love, because that is what I started to do. I was an entrepreneur in the arts, and I was interested in activism. So I met with every single human being, I think, in the city of Baton Rouge in that first 18 months, and especially in the creative industries, and I quickly found the third group here, transplants. And the transplants, could you pause the movie for a second, please? Let me catch up. And so the transplants, y'all are my people. Y'all are outside thinkers. Y'all come from a myriad of different experiences. And despite your small numbers, you have huge ideas. And the motivation is starvation. You are starved and you are thirsty for the culture that you no longer can find here. So you are highly motivated partners. So the matrix was completed. And what we needed to find was a test for the project, a test project for the entrepreneurial activism concept. And that, my friends, is the BR Walls project. So remember all those art organizations that I was banging on the doors for? And I did all the volunteer work? Well, I put those 10 people at the table at one time. And they represented a diverse background. They were progressive locals, they were energetic boomerangs, and they were fiery transplants. If you could pause the movie, please. Thank you. And I knew that those 10 people could bring 10 people into the fold. And that would be 100 people. That's 100 voices. That's 100 potential donors and volunteers all around one idea. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to activate the creative community here. That's it. We didn't know really past what we were going to do with that, but we knew that we needed something to rally behind. So out of everybody sitting at the table, we're like, well, why don't we just paint a mural? And we didn't know how to paint a mural, but we painted a mural. And so as you can see, we started a fundraising campaign. We leveraged a lot of media support, and the groundswell began. And we did hit our fundraising goal. And we painted that first mural, and we figured it out. And by the time that we painted our second mural, we had over 1,000 donors and supporters behind this project. The movement had taken root, and it had galvanized. And now we had a vehicle that not only we could utilize, but that other arts organizations could plug their ideas into. So you see, the power of numbers is there. And if you don't have the time or the ability to lead a movement, your donations and your support or opening doors for us actually does change the landscape of the city, even if you're not leading the charge. So last weekend, we all got together with a bunch of the artists from around Louisiana. Winifred Ross Riley was one of the leads. And we just wanted to do something for fun. So we put an APB out to all of our Walls group, and we took a bunch of pictures of citizens in Mid-City and people who own buildings. And we just saw what would happen if we set up our scaffolding at 8 o'clock in the morning, took a bunch of posters, and people just came out and they started pasting them on the side of the Darrensburg building on Government Street. Why not? It's dilapidated for decades, and we beautified it and made it gorgeous. And again, that's the whole point. We're building a vehicle that's not just to paint murals. We're building a vehicle that anybody can bring their idea into and make something cool into a reality. So we're now with the Walls Project, we are positioning now to, with the Better Block like Camille talked about, to participate in the reconstruction of Government Street. We are now in position to go into our school programs and actually provide art. We're in the position now to go into the parks with Breck. And we're actually now in position to be able to go on a statewide level, all because of the power of community. Our vehicle is the arts. Maybe yours will be education. Maybe yours will be marijuana reform in the state of Louisiana. You can clap, don't be scared. Whatever it is, remember who surrounds you and where their experiences have taken them. So one more time, if you can give me the pleasure, please, all transplants stand up. And please, all boomerangs stand up. And please, all locals stand up. Please look around at each other. It takes all of us to transform our hometown, because together with all of our strengths, we overcompensate for our weaknesses, and we can actually make the hometown revolution happen. Thank you so very much.